All right, another edition of Mike versus the World, Mike. So this is news that's percolating in the interwebs, on the message boards behind the scenes. Folks are saying that Matt Rhule to Nebraska is looking a lot more solid. There could be something there. There's a lot of smoke there, so Matt Rhule could be going to coach the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And the question is, will he be successful? Will there be success for Matt Rhule at Nebraska? Mike, I say no. I say no, and I say no because I think Matt Rhule is a great coach. I think he can actually, do a really good job. But define success, and I think that's what I need to figure out. If you want to tell me success is 8-4, 9-3, playing in a New Year's Day bowl, not a New Year's Six, but a New Year's Day bowl, right? Getting the Capital One bowl every year, then sure, he may be successful. But the schools he's going up against for recruits, the conference he's in, the people he's playing, I think it's going to be very tough in and year out for him to be in that conversation. Ohio State, Michigan, I mean, those two schools run the Big Ten. You're bringing in USC, potentially UCLA, maybe. We'll see how that shakes out. You have Penn State there. That's typically been okay. Wisconsin, I'm sure, will rebound at some point. Brett Bielema's not doing a terrible job at Illinois. If Kirk Ferentz ever figures out how to fire his son, maybe Iowa comes back. There's just too much other stuff going on. I think Matt Rhule can be a successful 8-9 win a season coach, but success in Nebraska comes with a ring on the finger. And I think short of getting, one of these top three coaches, I don't think anybody can accomplish that at Nebraska. So this is not a knock on Matt Rhule. Okay. This is simply the odds are stacked against him.
Yeah, and it's definitely definition of success, and those, are we talking about Bo Pelini's success, 9 wins a year, but nothing crazy, nothing exciting. I think he could do better than that. And I know the obstacles. I know the recruiting they're up against. I know that if they did ever win the West, and it's funny because we're talking about a 3-7 football team that hasn't been good in a very, very long time since Pelini was there. Playing in the Big Ten championship game. It sounds stupid, but this guy's made for this. This is what he's built for. He was 2-10 at Temple his first year, and I know Temple's not Nebraska. I get that. And he just completely turned them around into back-to-back 10-win seasons. So, okay, great. Group of 5. Congratulations. Pat on the back. He goes to Baylor, the biggest nightmare on earth with all the sexual assault, immediate transfers. That program was decimated. And he was 1-11 his first year. And he went 11-3 in his third year. And the reason why, and to a New Year's Six bowl. So to me, success is a New Year's Six bowl. Win the Big Ten West, which isn't really that formidable. And I'll get to that in a second. And maybe get drilled by Ohio State, maybe not, but get to a New Year's Six bowl. And with an expanded playoff too, you got to understand that you could sneak in there as the number 2 team in the Big Ten if you have a successful season. He doesn't need to recruit well. He needs to evaluate well, and that's what he does. His Baylor recruiting classes were not highly ranked, but he found guys that fit his system. He coaches 3 stars into 4 stars. That's what's needed at Nebraska. And I think the path to success at Nebraska requires that. It requires tremendous evaluation of talent. It requires finding people that weren't overlooked. You're not going to find some 2-star kid in the middle of nowhere nobody wanted, but you're going to find a 3-star kid, perhaps in Florida, perhaps in Texas, perhaps in California, that the big schools didn't really want, and he can come to your program and really blossom and excel. The Big Ten West looks like this right now. Purdue is leading, tied with Illinois and Iowa at the top, and Minnesota. I mean, they're all 4-3 in conference. Wisconsin, Nebraska, Northwestern. It's not a formidable division. I think Matt Rhule, again, this is going to take time, is the right choice and can get them to win the West by his third year. And then if he wins the West, he's going to New Year's Six. And to me, that's success. They're never going to win a national championship in Nebraska ever again. Not going to happen. Sorry. I hate to break it to you. I know everybody's upset hearing that, but get it through your ears. It's not happening, but you can go to a New Year's Six bowl under Matt Rhule.
Sure, you could, but I mean, I don't know how a lot of things have to break in his favor for that to take place, right? What you just described, a lot of things have to break in his favor, the things that he doesn't control. I agree with everything you said leading up to that. I think Matt Rhule is a fantastic coach. I think he's a good recruiter. I think he'll be able to find talent. I think he'll be able to put a better product on the field for Nebraska. But you're asking him to overcome a lot of other obstacles that are outside of his control. And I think that's the part. He can't control how the other teams in the conference are playing, right? He can't control that element. He can't control kids who go to Nebraska and say, hey, I'll stay for a little bit, and then want to get in the transfer portal because they see other opportunities, right? Like some of that stuff is outside of his control.
Let's go back to the other teams. Other teams in his division are playing. Do we have a bright future here at a lot of these schools? I mean, Wisconsin, we don't know what we're going to get with Jim Leonard. Illinois, they're a cute little story under Brett Bielema, but they're starting to lose games as we expected. They're not a perennial contender. Purdue, they're going to lose a couple games every year that they're supposed to win. Then they're going to win a couple they're supposed to lose. Iowa, Kirk Ferentz, I mean, he's 180 years old, and his son isn't the offensive coordinator, and I don't think he's ever going to fire him. PJ Fleck's the only one I would be scared about, and I think he's going to end up moving. So it's not – there's no other teams to consider here, honestly. I'm not giving them the Big Ten West, but I was expecting a lot more from the Big Ten West this season, and now I see an old Iowa team that does the same tired thing over again. Seeing a Wisconsin team, they got rid of Paul Chryst, so they're going to hire a guy who's going to do the same exact thing at Wisconsin. Matt Rhule is going to do different stuff. He's going to do a lot of stuff. I mean, they're up-tempo. They could play spread. He's going to do things that Nebraska's needed to do for 100 years. That's the portal I can't help you with. I don't know why anybody would transfer out of Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, they got like beautiful lakes and stuff.
Beautiful there, yeah.
I don't know about the portal, but the other stuff I'm not worried about the division.
Well, if you're saying the success mark for you is he has to get to one New Year's Six bowl in his – well, let's call it a 5-year contract.
Yeah,
let's just five.
Absolutely. That's
if you tell me, if you're saying that's success, then I give him an outside chance.
Well, who else has made a New Year's Six bowl here out of the West? I mean, Wisconsin. That's it, right?
Yeah, probably. But the West is the West. But then you still got to go against the East, Mike, to get into that bowl potentially, right? You still got to go through the gauntlet of Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State.
Well, I don't know. There won't be New Year's Six bowls in the expand. I get it. I still think the number 2 team in the West can get drilled by Ohio State and get to a great bowl. That's just, I mean, well, no,
great bowl, sure.
I think he went to 3 or 2 of them. Paul Chryst, and he's not Matt Rhule. Let's not get it twisted. So yes, that is success. A New Year's Six bowl. Nebraska fans would lose their ever-loving mind to go to a New Year's Six bowl. They would be so joyous and happy and travel so well, and that would boost recruiting and maybe get the ball rolling here.
Yeah, again, I think Matt Rhule is a great coach. I think he's a huge upgrade over where they've been the last couple of years. I think he will absolutely get them back on the formidable map. If you told me that he's going to win 8-9 games a season for the next 5 years, I would absolutely say, hey, you know what? I could see that. But in terms of breaking through that, that sort of glass ceiling and getting to that echelon again, I think that's a tough task for anybody. Maybe Matt Rhule's up for it. I mean, you've seen him do great turnaround jobs at Temple. You've seen him do great turnaround jobs at Baylor. Maybe he's up for it there. Yeah. But it's just that's a tough task.
And I'm surprised you didn't bring up the failure at the NFL level because that's something
doesn't matter though. But that doesn't matter.
I agree with you. I mean, 5-11, 5-12, 1-4, 11-27, colossal failure, $65 million guaranteed, awful. I know a lot of people have coached with Matt Rhule who currently coach with him at the Carolina Panthers or at Baylor or back at Temple. I just know what type of guy this is and what type of staff he's going to put together. He's not made for the NFL. NFL
doesn't matter. Yeah,
he took the money as he had to, and it was a smart move. But this guy's made to build programs.
Nick Saban was a mediocre NFL coach, right? Yeah, Steve Spurrier was a terrible NFL coach.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson is probably the best example, like off the top of my head, I can think of a guy who was great in college, who went to the NFL and had some success.
Okay. So if Matt Rhule can't do it, and let's say he can't, for argument's sake, because we all thought Scott Frost was going to get some stuff done there. If he can't do it, I don't know who the hell can. Simply because you need somebody who's going to come in there. Maybe Lance Leopold, who's going to come into a horrible situation. And Lance is a great discussion point too, because Buffalo was a mess, and Kansas you can't even get worse than Kansas was when he arrived.
Mike, you know how this works. Mike. If you're not one of these top 5-10 schools, whatever order you want, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Alabamas, the Georgia. If you're not one of those top 5-10 schools, whatever that number is, you know how this works. You have to catch lightning in a bottle. at some point, right? You have to have a lot of kind of breaks go your way, catch a little bit of lightning in a bottle, down year, whatever this looks like. You get a great recruiting class, and that's how you traject. That's how you traject yourself forward. Right? Catch that lightning, like Cincinnati comes to mind off the top of my head, right? They've had really solid classes. They caught lightning in a bottle. They had a great season, you know, a down year. They got into the playoff, and we'll see if they can ride that momentum forward. They're going to the Big 12. We'll see how that works out. That's kind of what you need in these situations. You need someone to be able to catch lightning in a bottle to break through that top 10, that top 5 list of schools, whatever it is. I'm not saying Matt Rhule can't do that, but I think you need that lightning in a bottle scenario, and that's how schools like a TCU, like a Cincinnati, will end up getting into that echelon at some point in time. And then can you then capitalize on success, right? That's where the Tennessee moment is at, or that's where, the Cincinnati moment is at. Can they capitalize off that long term? I'll speak specifically about the school I cover, UCF, right? We were there for a while. We slipped down a little bit. We couldn't maintain that level. So can schools do that? It's a lightning in a bottle moment. I think Matt Rhule has all the tools to do that, but I think there's a lot of other factors that are going to play into it.
We've seen him do it, though. And that's, you know, I mean, they played for the Big 12 championship game in 2019, lost in overtime to Oklahoma. Oklahoma made the playoff. Obviously, Baylor did not. We've seen him do it before. He could do it again. He is like, have you seen him? Have you ever stood next to him? He's 5'6", 200 husky pounds of lightning in a bottle. That's what he is. So I'm going to leave it at that. Matt Rhule is walking lightning in a bottle. Nebraska gets him. Listen, I said good things about Scott Frost because I thought it'd be a great fit. I wasn't sold he was a great coach. I didn't know. I know Matt Rhule is a great coach, and if he goes to Nebraska, he's going to be New Year's Six successful. And when he does, he better fly me out to that game because there's nobody who's a bigger proponent of Matt Rhule to Nebraska than me.